So, the homeboy has done it. He's put it on pole. Hey everybody, it's Spark and welcome to today's reaction video. It's the Monaco Grand Prix qualifying that just happened. A bit later filming it as life kind of got in the way, but nevertheless it was a very interesting qualifying session. This time, is this the beginning of the renaissance for Ferrari? And the man to do it, Charles Leclerc, the homeboy, the Monegasque, has put it on pole position, crucially denying Max Verstappen the chance to deal a major blow to Lewis Hamilton in the title lead. So, as you would have seen my full react videos before, what I'm going to do, start from the top, from Mercedes to the bottom all the way to Williams, based on the order in which they finished last year. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. Let's think about the top guys at Mercedes, and quite a weird one. Valtteri Bottas, he was the one who had the somehow he had the edge on Hamilton all weekend. He put it up in P3 for the team, where it's not particularly their strongest circuit. It never has been historically, maybe with the exception of 2019. But Valtteri Bottas, great lap from him. He's up into P3. Now he should really be in a position, as far as the titles fight is concerned, to really be hassling Max Verstappen for that P2 position, I think. So this will be damage limitation, I think, for Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, P7. That is a terrible result for him, frankly. I think, but I'm not quite sure what happened with. So it doesn't feel like that he's been right in that car all weekend for some reason. I'm not quite sure what the issue was, but 7th position compared to Max's P2, this is a very damage limitation race for Hamilton. There's only 14 points the gap in it between himself and Max. Unfortunately, that we could very well see that gap disappear by the end of the race tomorrow. Looking to their rivals now at Red Bull, Max Verstappen, he will be annoyed. I think you heard his radio as well. He was very annoyed not to get that pole position when Mercedes was struggling so badly. It very much reminded me of Turkey, where we had all that rain. We had Lance Stroll that put it on pole, where it should really have been Max Verstappen, and he just had his whole kind of episode by himself, where it was just painful, really, and I'm sure he's feeling that same pain this time around. But all he needs is a good start off that line, and he should be in P1, and that's where a point we should really deal a massive blow to Lewis Hamilton's championship lead. Sergio Perez, on the other hand, 9th place. It looks like an absolutely terrible result, because it's sort of it. Now, Perez, we all know, it's taken him a little bit of time. He's to get used to that Red Bull car. He's put in some heroics in Portugal, where he coached the tyres as long as he could, but nevertheless, this was just bad. The only saving grace from him, he's only 2 positions behind Hamilton. He could really look to pull the guy back and maybe steal the place off him and just keep him behind. Max Verstappen ideally would take the lead and the win. That just makes the Verstappen's title challenge much better. So a lot of work to do on one side of the garage. The other half are in prime position to strike. So now, down the other side of the grid, we have McLaren. Lando Norris proving once again he is wrangling everything out of that McLaren car, even though they are clearly outclassed by Ferrari this weekend. That retro Golf livery, I've got to say, it looks absolutely gorgeous on that car, and it's particularly deadly in the hands of Lando Norris, who's put it into P5, out-qualifying Lewis Hamilton, and that is absolutely crucial in terms of the championship. However, in terms of their battle for P3 in the Constructors, McLaren are going to have a very hard time this time around battling Ferrari, who are already 1st and 4th. Daniel Ricciardo, on the other hand, it's a P12, so once again, not a good qualifying session for Daniel Ricciardo. I'm not sure what particularly his issues were, but it looks, on paper, very much looks like the races of late, in which Lando is just consistently driving very well, maybe even outperforming the car, I dare say. But nevertheless, Daniel Ricciardo, P12, it's a bad result for him, and this is the track where you really can't overtake unless you're absolutely daring or absolutely silly. But he is the king of overtakes once he gets his brakes sorted out, so let's see what he does coming up to the race. And down the grid we have what was Racing Point, which is now Aston Martin. Sebastian Vettel, P8 now. That is much more like it. That's more of what I want to see from Vettel coming into this qualifying sessions. Let's be honest, Aston Martin don't necessarily have the best car going into this season, but Sebastian Vettel, he's done very well to put it up to P8, splitting Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez. And we know, because Sebastian Vettel, I think in his heyday, is very good around the circuit. He's taken 2 wins here, one of them being in 2011 with Red Bull and the other being 2017 with Ferrari. Do not rule him out, because I think this is another track where he comes good. He could very well mix it up at the top of the midfield Lance Stroll, on the other hand, the only saving grace for him, starting from P13, he's got a fresh choice of tyres. And this is one, unless some major incidents happens in front of him, I can't really see him particularly scoring points, as long as the car's obviously holding up as well. So Aston Martin, there you go. Not necessarily shaken, but they are definitely stirring up some things across the midfield. That was so fucking bad. So now further down the grid we have Alpine, Esteban Ocon at the moment, proving once again he really has got the edge on his more experienced teammate Fernando Alonso, which to be fair he kind of has a metal jaw at the moment. But nevertheless, Ocon P11, which I kind of felt the Alpines were a little bit slower than the rest of the field, probably behind Aston Martin, but there we go. Esteban Ocon is in P11. Fernando Alonso on the other hand, P17, which is, once again, it's a very mute result. It's like the feel for these races with the Alonso where he's not necessarily getting the better of his teammate. It feels like Michael Schumacher's comeback when he goes back to Mercedes at the moment. But nevertheless, Fernando still has that jaw to heel. And we all know how devilish he can be behind. Well, we saw that in Portugal as well. But starting from P17, the prospects look bleak on the track, like Monaco. Now, the stars of the moment. Scuderia Ferrari. Is this the beginning of the comeback, the renaissance, the return to glory for the Ferrari Formula 1 team, where the days of Spinaling and pit stop blunders are in the past? Is this the moment it turned around? Charles Leclerc, what a lap to go and pole position. One thing people are going to say, you're always going to get those people that are going to say, yeah, that crash was definitely intentional. Well, that makes absolutely no sense to me. Why would you deliberately crash your car into a wall unless your team principal is Flavio Briatore? What that would just do is just give his mechanics just more time to work on to get the car ready for the night. There's no sense in just creating more work for your team just to keep the position on the track. And like, as we know, when you rebuild a car after a crash during qualifying, it doesn't necessarily, there's always the risk of it not quite being at the same level of performance. So why would Charles Leclerc take that risk? He brought out an absolutely magic lap. The homeboy is on pole again. But that said, commiserations I think are in order for Carlos Sainz. If you would have heard him, I think if you've seen the Sky TV interviews, you would have seen that as well. Chile is absolutely kicking himself, and no wonder why. To put it in P4, relative to their battle with McLaren, it's a good place to qualify, but we've got the sense we got more and more pace in that Ferrari. I mean, I think that's what was disappointing Carlos Sainz. He should have been on at least the front row in his eyes, but nevertheless, he's showing right now that he is starting to gel with that car. That red flag would have hindered him coming onto the outside. I think we would have seen him possibly at about P3 or P4, depending on what Max Verstappen would have done, because I think he was on a faster lap by the time the red flags come out. So it's P4, you still got a lot to play for. Now on to AlphaTauri. Like the Mercedes and Red Bull, what we have here is a classic tale of two halves. Pierre Gasly proving once again why he is the team leader at AlphaTauri, wrangling that AlphaTauri by the scruff of its neck to out-qualify even Sir Lewis Hamilton. P6 in that AlphaTauri was very, very close to the qualifying performances they had at the beginning of the year in Bahrain and Imola. So Gasly is very well placed to score a massive load of points there for AlphaTauri. Yuki Tsunoda, on the other hand, he is P16 on the grid. However, this is a guy who's never actually driven the track at Monaco before. All he's done, apparently, he was practicing using F1 2020 game. That said, maybe if I practice on the game, maybe I could get around the Monaco track as fast as them. Wishful thinking, I guess. Tsunoda is P16. It's just going to be another one of those character building races, I think, for him. Just as long as he keeps his temperament under control, stops filling up the swear box, he should be good to go. So here we have Alfa Romeo, Antonio Giovinazzi. He got it into Q3. He has done what George Russell has failed to do at Williams so far. He is in Q3 and he is starting, very importantly, in a point scoring position in P10. Well done to him. On that lower midfield battle, that was probably by far his best performance. Probably Giovinazzi's best performance I've actually seen him behind in the Alfa Romeo car. He's showing more and more how he's starting to come of age, even though some people thought he's a little bit old getting into the sport. But to put that in P10, miles ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, simply a fantastic job. Now Raikkonen, on the other hand, he was only able to get a 1 minute 11.6, which got him unfortunately down to P14, which ironically is actually faster than Giovinazzi's time, which he'd done in Q3. So it just shows them putting in the faster laps when it counts earlier. I think it just shows that Giovinazzi wasn't expecting anything further after getting into that P10. So now Haas, on the other hand, Nikita Mazepin, well done, you didn't spin. Now Mick Schumacher, on the other hand, his crash in FP3 says all you need to know about his qualifying session. Because he didn't have one. I suppose if there's anything to take from Mick Schumacher's pre-practice performances, that P14 in FP3 was pretty convincing, even if practice doesn't really tell you much. So the only thing that Mick will be able to take is a confidence boost from that session. But yeah, the both Hasses are at the back. It's going to be a tricky one for them yet again. On to Williams now. Once again, George Russell has put that thing into Q2, which is a trademark he's going to be known for until he moves out of that team, quite frankly. Not really much else to say. He's done it yet again. And Nicholas Latifi is once again out-qualified. Essentially the slowest slowest of all the drivers on the field. And Nikita Mazepin. Nicholas Latifi's qualifying session on the hand, only P18. I suppose he would have been wanting, in a way, to out-qualify Fernando Alonso, who by default had probably a worse session relative to his own car. But nevertheless, Williams, this is going to be another one of those steady sessions that after their 750th Grand Prix, which is known as a fantastic anniversary for a team that's been able to last this long, I just hope that they have a race worthy of those 750. Otherwise, it's not going to really reflect that well on them. So, hopefully a proof wrong. Hopefully a miracle happens. All the cars get taken out and they end up scoring points, which would be justice, I think, given the situation that they're finding themselves in. So now, looking at my predictions for the race, here are my top three. I'm going to go with first place. I'm going to be a bit devilish and say Charles Leclerc is going to take the win. P2, I'm going to say is Max Verstappen, but P3, I'm going to say is Carlos Sainz. And I'll tell you why I'm going to put Sainz ahead in P3. Because Valtteri Bottas, over the most recent races, doesn't quite look like as feisty as he once was. Unless Lewis Hamilton's trying to overtake him, in which feisty doesn't really work. Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, he's got all that anger and energy behind him to really fire him up, to really make amends in his eyes to his qualifying session. Charles Leclerc is a very wise head on young shoulders. I pretty much think that if he plays his cards right, if he plays his strategy right and gets his start right, he will be able to keep an urgent Max Verstappen behind him. While those two will be more concentrated on each other, because I think their rivalry goes back to their karting days, I don't really think Valtteri Bottas is going to be able to compromise that much. But then again, I could be wrong, but I say that's my predictions for now. What do you think then? How do you think the qualifying session went? And what are your predictions for tomorrow's race? Be sure to let me know in the comment sections below. And if you like regular Formula 1 content, as well as some odd league racing content that I do on the side, do be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified of when my latest releases come out. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the race tomorrow. I've been Spark. You guys have been Brill. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.